Good evening. My name is Bob Connors. It's 6:02 p.m. and I'd like to call the August 1st meeting of the Newbury Conservation Commission to order. Sam, can you read the remote open meeting law preamble and take a roll call vote of members present? Roll call of members present. It's been a long day already for me.
All right, as a preliminary matter, my name is Samantha Holt, Town Staff Conservation Agent for the Newbury Conservation Commission. Permit me to confirm that all members are present and can hear me. Conservation Commission members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Bob Connors.
Yes.
Brad Duffin.
Here.
Diane O'Brien.
Yes.
Mary Rimmer.
Yes.
Mick Brown.
Yes.
TJ Conti.
Yes.
And we do not have Woody yet. All right, good evening. This August 1st, 2023 open meeting of the Newbury Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with the act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, which extends the governor's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law until March 31st, 2025. This order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location and allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that attendees are participating by video and/or telephone conference, and the recording will be available on the Newbury Access YouTube channel. Meeting materials were provided to the commission members prior to the meeting for review and were posted on the Conservation Commission webpage for public access. Before we turn to the first item on the agenda, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. The chair will introduce each speaker on the agenda. Proponents will be given 10 minutes to present. More time may be allowed at the discretion of the chair. After they conclude their remarks, we will go down the list of commission members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, for all attendees except commission members and staff, please remember to mute your computer using the mute button or your phone using *6 to toggle mute and unmute when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. Please be aware that video participants can see you and that you should take care not to screen share your computer unless you've been allowed to do so. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. For any responses, please wait until the floor is yielded to you and state your name before speaking. If commission members wish to engage in discussion with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself when you wish to speak. There will be an opportunity for public comment and questions during public hearings. After commission members have spoken, we will afford the public an opportunity to comment and or ask questions as follows. I will see questions and comments at the appropriate time through the Zoom raise hand function. For video conference participants, to raise your hand, hover over the bottom of the Zoom window below the photo gallery and click on the yellow hand that appears. If you don't see a yellow hand, click on the participants button. A list of participants will open and display on the right. At the bottom of this participant area, we'll see an option to click on a raise hand button. Please ensure that your name is fully and correctly displayed on the participant list. You may rename yourself by using the more function next to your name. For telephone participants, to raise your hand in a Zoom meeting, hit *9 on your phone's keypad. We'll then allow questions and comments from members of the public who have raised their hands in the order in which they appear on my screen based on when the function was selected. Each participant will be called upon to provide his name and address or affiliation and will be afforded 3 minutes to make comments. More time may be allowed at the discretion of the chair. The proponent or commission members will have the opportunity to reply as needed. Your hand will be lowered when you've been given the floor for your questions. We'll then continue down the list of those in the raise hand column and again afford time for responses as needed. All participants are reminded that only matters which fall into the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission may be discussed. The chat feature has been disabled for this meeting, and everyone is expected to conduct themselves in the same manner they would in an in-person meeting. Disruptions that impede operations of this commission will be addressed once by the chair and should be acknowledged by the disruptor. Further disruptions may result in complete removal from the meeting with no readmittance. Vulgar or obscene actions or comments will result in immediate removal from the meeting with no readmittance. And finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Thank you, Sam. All right, team. Upcoming meeting dates: August 15th, September 5th, September 19th, and just a reminder of our new start time of 6 p.m. Sam, any meeting minutes available? We don't have time to review them, so we'll catch
Yeah, I
them on the next
don't
meeting.
have any ready yet. I planned to get them done on Friday and then I got slammed with a bunch of other stuff. So
No, not a problem. Okay, first order of business, an extension request on DEP file number 050-1310-34 Plum Island Turnpike. A request to extend the existing order of conditions issued on 10/31/2019, expiring on February 5th, 2024, with the COVID tolling, for work to construct a new single-family residence. Sam, can you provide a quick review of this and a recommendation?
Yes, so this one was originally issued, like it says, back in 2019. COVID tolling extended that expiration date. The current owner, so we actually got a request to close the order of conditions for this for the last meeting. And about an hour before the last meeting, I spoke to the new owner who said that he did not want to close it. They want to keep that option open to do the development. Currently, the property is being used as a parking lot, and it's continuing to be used as a parking lot until they decide to either do this project or do something different. It was to construct a new single-family residence on the property. They did get the full approval for everything. This one is really, really weird. This is a weird spot that is in Zone X. And if you're familiar with the location, it is right in Plum Island Center, which is very strange. So the entire approval and everything is, I believe they only have to comply with the 2 feet of clearance and everything. But the whole project looks good, and they're obviously, since it doesn't expire until February, they are well within their time frame to get the extension. Extensions don't or have to be requested no later than 30 days prior to the expiration date. So we're well outside of that right now.
Okay, so they're looking for a 3-year extension,
Yes,
which would be 3 years from the February 5th date.
correct.
Okay. All right. Any questions, team? This seems pretty clear cut. Mary, any questions on this one?
Yeah, I guess I'm hesitant to issue an extension so far in advance of the expiration. And also adding 3 years. I think there's a lot of moving parts with the coastal regulations right now. So I guess I would be fine with a 1-year extension, and then it could be revisited to be renewed again after that. But I would suggest at least that's my feeling.
As I recall, Mary, our wetland bylaw for Plum Island allows, and shall be extended for 3 years upon a request. As I
I think it
recall.
says May.
Yeah, may be extended for up to
Yeah.
3 years.
Right.
It actually says shall, because I made sure when we revamped that it does say shall in the bylaw upon request.
Well, it's different than the state wetland regulations. So, we could potentially have 2 different decisions, which would make it awkward to try to keep track of. So that's just my thought on it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Brad, any comments on that? Thank you, Mary.
No, I have no issue with this.
Okay. Mick, I see your hand raised. Any comments?
Yeah, I'm just curious why they haven't taken action, and they've had this, order of conditions for some time now. And did
Yeah.
they give you any indication of an estimated time to complete?
The new owner has not. The previous owner, Dave Williamson, actually talked to a couple months ago, talked to the building commissioner, wanted to see, I believe when he was getting ready to sell the property, he wanted to see if everything that he had was still valid. They did get an extension, I believe, on the building permits, because the building permits were getting ready to expire. They were a couple years old. So when he spoke with the building commissioner, he basically said, they got the approval and then COVID hit a few months after that. And it was between COVID and trying to deal with all of the, difficulty dealing with getting materials and, getting people to come and actually do the work. They were having a really hard time. So it just kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed. And then ultimately he ended up deciding to sell the property. And he originally came in, he thought that in order to sell the property, he had to close the order of conditions, which isn't true. A lot of people think so. And in a lot of cases, if work has been completed, you do have to get that COC before you can actually sell. But in this case where the work wasn't done yet, they still had the opportunity to do it. So they just had to basically sign an affidavit that said, we know that, we have this order of conditions, we have to comply with it. If anything changes, we have to talk to the commission. but the current owner does want to keep it open. I believe they do plan on doing development. I don't know what their time frame is looking at right now, though.
Well, I appreciate that. I kind of lean towards Mary's comment, like, we just can't leave this open ad infinitum till they decide they want to do something, because conditions do change. So
Yeah, Sam, why don't you do this?
I'd be in favor of tightening that extension. You know, just,
What I'm gonna make a suggestion, Mick, is I'm positive of what our wetland bylaw says.
Mhm.
And it says it shall be extended for 3 years. Sam, if you could just verify that.
I have it up right now, and it does say the commission may grant only 2 extensions for an individual order of conditions.
Yeah,
So
but you need,
It does say they
For-
shall extend for 3 years.
it does.
For 1 period of 3 years upon
One
request
period,
of the
3 years.
applicant.
Right. Okay, and that's,
So the first one they have to get 3 years. For anything after that, we can get
Right.
up to 3.
okay, so this
But
is
only,
the
you only
first,
get 2 extensions.
Yeah,
right. So
under
this
the
is the
bylaw.
first extension, so,
yeah.
so they're by right, they're entitled to the
Yeah.
3, so.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep, yep.
okay, TJ, any comments on this one?
No, no questions.
Okay, Diane, any questions on this one?
Nope, no, we don't really have any,
Yeah, this is really,
the
it's,
shall.
Yeah.
I pulled it up here myself. I was like, wait a minute. So it's a shall.
well, when we did the bylaw over in 2005, there was a lot of fine tuning like that I was involved in, but.
Yep.
Okay, I have no questions. Sam, any other you have any follow-up questions? I think we've answered. They're entitled to the 3 years as a matter of right,
Yeah.
and they've certainly applied. All right, is there a motion to extend the existing order of conditions dated 10/31/2019, expiring on February 5th, 2024, for 3 years?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, okay, all those in favor, roll call vote. Mary,
Yes.
TJ,
Aye.
Woody, Brad,
aye.
Mick? Mick, you may
Aye.
be on. Diane
Yes.
and Bob Connors vote yes. Okay. Next matter, certificate of compliance, DEP file number 051351, 11 Jackson Way, request for a certificate of compliance for work to remodel an existing single-family residence. Sam, can you give us an overview and a recommendation on this matter?
Yep, so I did go by and take a look at this one. Everything looks good. I believe their order of conditions is also still valid. But all the work seems to have been completed, and it all looks like it's been completed in compliance with what was approved. And I do apologize, there's a little bit of a typo there. It's supposed to be 050-1351. That was my
Oh, okay. Yeah, monkey do,
Yeah.
because I know that's Matt, that's Newbury's.
Yep.
Newbury's code. Okay.
Yeah, but everything does look good out there.
Okay, Mary, any questions on this one?
Nope.
Okay, Brad, any questions?
All good.
Mick, any questions in this one?
No, I am good.
TJ, any questions?
All set.
Diane, any questions?
No,
And I have no questions. Sam, any raised hands from the public at this time? I don't see any, obviously.
Nope.
Okay, is there a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 11 Jackson Way?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
second.
Okay, roll call vote. All in favor, say aye. Mary,
Yes.
TJ,
Aye.
Brad,
Aye.
Mick,
Aye.
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. All right, next order of business, another certificate of compliance. DEP file number 0501315, 131 Newburyport Turnpike. This is the stowaway storage area. Request for a certificate of compliance for work to expand the existing self-storage facility. Sam, can you give us an overview and a recommendation on this one?
Yes, so this was, I don't think any of you guys were here when this was originally getting permitted. They basically did this project in, I believe, 4 phases. This is for phase 4. So the first 3, I believe, were all closed out and good to go. This phase was to do an additional expansion of the storage facility. They have a constructed wetland out there that looks like it's in really good shape. They've done all the plantings and everything. Pretty much the whole project looks really good. We've done a couple site walks out there. We actually did another one yesterday. Planning, Martha and Kristen and I went out with Joe Swarka and took a look at everything, and it all looks pretty good. And I believe we are all set to close out this phase.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Mary, any questions on this matter?
Just a question, did we get an as-built plan?
We did, yep.
Okay, and were there any changes from the original approved plan?
The only deviations from the original plan were actually in the plantings. So when they did the constructed wetland, they had anticipated, they had estimated that they were going to get a certain hydrology, and they constructed the whole entire wetland exactly how it was proposed. But the soils that they got out there, when they actually got finished with it, the hydrology was totally different. It was a lot less wet. So it's holding that water and it's taking that water in really great. It's serving the exact purpose that it's supposed to. But the hydrology that they're getting was not nearly as wet as they anticipated that it was going to be. So when we went out for the original site walk, they had mentioned that to us and said, you know, we're not really comfortable planting these particular plants out here. They're not going to survive because they need to be really wet, and they're not going to be. So Millennium actually did a revised planting plan. And I took a look at it when they did it, and everything looked good. They have, I believe it's a lot of the stuff that's in the bottom of the basin is all a lot of like low marsh stuff. Kind of smaller plants and things like that, and then they have like high bush blueberry and stuff going up the sides. So that's really the only deviation, but the layout of the plantings didn't really change. It was just the species that needed to change due to the
Still
hydrology.
wetland species, just
Yeah, still
more
wetland
facultative
species.
instead of obligate. Okay,
Right, yeah.
great, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Brad, any questions on this one?
No, it's pretty straightforward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Mick, any questions for Sam on this?
Just, Sam, you're satisfied with the survival rate on the plants and
Yeah.
annual growth?
Yeah,
Okay.
they all look good.
All right, good.
Okay, thanks, Mick. TJ, any comments on this one?
Just a quick comment. I'm familiar with the property. I've walked around it, and I've actually seen some of the project as it's been built. And I know he does a fantastic job in building his projects out. And if there's any issue, he errs on the side of caution and does a great job operating. So I have no problem whatsoever.
Thank you, TJ. Diane, any questions on this one?
Nope.
Okay, and I agree with TJ. Every time I drive by this property, it's just picture perfect, and certainly the owners take great pride in it. Sam, any raised hands from the audience, from the public at this time?
I do not see any.
Okay, all right. Is there a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 131 Newburyport Turnpike?
So moved.
Do we
Second,
have- Okay, all right, roll call vote, all in favor, say aye or yes. I don't know why I say aye, it's an old habit, I guess. Mary,
Yes,
TJ,
aye or yes, whichever one you want.
no, it's, I just laugh at myself and some of this stuff, to be honest with you. Brad,
Aye.
Mick,
Aye, I kind of prefer aye.
Diane,
Yes.
see, there, Diane changed the whole dynamics now.
He's stubborn.
And I'll vote aye as well. Okay, thank you. So the next matter is an outstanding enforcement order at 18 Fordham Way.
We're gonna
bl-
skip over that one and do that kind of
What-
concurrently with.
Oh, okay, great. All right, so the next matter will be request for determination and RDA for it's our file number 42453 Northern Boulevard for work to expand an existing roof deck. Dan, why don't you give us a quick overview on that, if you may?
So.
Seen the property, it doesn't know what would expansion.
Yep, so this is, it really is, it's just for a roof deck. This is another one of those kind of funky ones that it basically is gonna have no obvious impact on anything around it, but because it's on Plum Island, it has to come through us again, just to get it reviewed and everything. But the, oh, I think I just opened up the wrong one. So I have the deck schematic. It is pretty straightforward. And I believe we have the applicant here, Georgia Ganis. I believe everything around it, everything on the ground around this particular property is all it's all pavement, where everything is going in, or gravel, kind of a sideways picture, but it's a, you know, like I said, it's a roof deck, not really a whole lot on the ground that could get disturbed, so it's pretty straightforward.
So it looks like it's an expansion of an existing roof deck, but still
Correct, yeah, but it's remaining on the roof
on
line.
the right. And there's
Yeah.
no stairs coming down to the, it's more of a, there's no stairway coming down to the grade either. I don't see that.
I
No,
don't believe so.
Excuse me, no, there will not be anything coming to the grade.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Sam?
Not from me.
All right, let me open this up to questions. Mary, any questions on this?
No questions.
Okay, TJ, any questions?
No, looks straightforward.
Brad, any questions?
No, all good, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Mick, any questions on this one?
Couple of quick ones, just are you gonna be bringing in any lift equipment that's gonna be staging or staging
No.
any materials on site?
No,
And no debris coming down from the existing deck, or?
no, it's what's underneath it is finished.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mick. Diane, any questions on this one?
Nope, my note said seems fine, so.
Every time I go to Mad Martha's, I get to look at this one, so I have no questions. Sam, any raised hands from the public at this time?
Not that I can see.
Okay, is there a motion to issue a negative determination for 53 Northern Boulevard?
So moved.
Do we have
Second,
Okay, roll call vote. All in favor, say aye. Mary,
Yes.
TJ,
Aye.
Brad,
Aye.
Aye,
Diane,
yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. Sam, let me know if Woody, I don't see him, so.
He is here.
Oh, Woody,
I should have announced something, but I was just letting it go.
well, geez, Woody, we don't want to ignore you.
So a yes vote on that as well. I
Okay,
had trouble
so-
logging in, but I got in and I'm
Yeah,
here. Paul.
okay.
Thank you.
All right, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay, so team, what we're gonna do is, to accommodate some time constraints, and I think anyone that does these public presentations on multiple boards from time to time, we're going to we're gonna take 18 Fordham Way and 11 Plum Bush Downs out of order, and then go back to 110 Hay Street.
Mr. Chairman, could I just make a comment before you move on?
Yeah, you can, sir.
Well, thank you all for that, but I just want to bring it to the commission's attention that Samantha was terrific on this thing. She really helped me out after I, got out of my own way and understood what had to be done. So she did do a lot of work straightening this out for me, so I appreciate it.
Well,
Thank you, George.
That's our girl.
Well, that keeps us all moving forward.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so Sam, do you want to do 18 Fordham? Is Tom gonna do these?
Yes.
I have 18 Fordham teed up first on my call sheet. So.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a public hearing for DEP file number 0501409, 18 Fordham Way. This is the Blue Inn for an after-the-fact approval of work to replace 2 sets of beach access stairs. And we're going to address closing out or address the existing enforcement order as the same. How do you want to handle it, Sam? You want to do the enforcement order first, where the only requirement was to do the filing?
Yeah, I think, so that one's gonna be kind of up to you guys. We did get some comments back from DEP. Just got them today, like an hour and a half ago, maybe. So I mean, ultimately it's up to you guys whether you want to keep it open or close it. The only requirement under the enforcement order was to file the notice of intent. If you wanted to, we could leave it open in case there's anything for the actual NOI filing that requires some sort of mitigation or restoration or anything like that. DEP likes to see that covered under an enforcement order, but it's super, super easy to just issue a new enforcement order instead, if we want to close this one out, but it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Yeah, I mean, from my viewpoint is that the enforcement order was the result of DEP requiring the filing of an NOI.
Pretty much.
That's been accomplished. There's really nothing we can add as a condition into the NOI that
Right.
so I'm going to make a discussion. I think what I'd like to do is address the enforcement order first, because the filing closes it by the mere fact that it's we have a notice of intent. So on the enforcement order for 18 Fordham Way, discussion to clear an enforcement order issued on 5/8/2023 for unpermitted work to replace stairs on the beach. And we have DEP file number 0501409 that has been filed and is our next order of business. So discussion. And Mary, any thoughts on this one?
No, I mean, normally I'd like to do the notice of intent first, but in this case, because of the way this all evolved,
Yeah.
we originally approved the project anyway. I agree with you that the only condition was to file a notice of intent, so I would say that that's been resolved. And if we
Okay.
need to if there's further non-compliance, and we can deal with it either through an order of conditions or through an additional enforcement order.
Okay, thank you, Mary. TJ, any comments on considering closing out this enforcement order?
No, I think that's good. That's fine.
Okay, Woody, how about yourself? Any?
No,
Any-
I have no comments. It sounds good.
Okay, thank you, Woody. Brad, any comments?
All good, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Mick, how about yourself? Any comments on this one?
No, sir, it feels like they've filled their, duty, so I think we're good to go.
Diane, any comments on your part?
I don't see the DEP comments, Sam, would that
Yeah,
have nothing to do with,
I didn't have a chance to put them in. By the time I saw them and finished doing a couple other things, I didn't have a chance to put them in the Dropbox. Like I said, we just got them.
yeah, I don't see
They're not
them.
posted on the website.
I'm looking at it now and they're not there.
Oh,
DEP.
yeah, they might not be populated on the website. If they just issued them today, they probably won't show up until tomorrow, but I got a letter. They sent out an email for it today.
Well,
That
why
has
don't we,
nothing to do with the enforcement order, right?
Right, yeah, it's just to do with the filing.
Fine.
so
then, no
what I'm going to
questions.
suggest, team, is why don't we look at the comments under the NOI public hearing?
Okay,
Okay, I don't have any questions in this one. I agree with Mary. I think this has satisfied the intent of the enforcement order. Sam, any raised hands from the public at this time?
Not that I can see.
Okay, is there a motion? Is there a motion to close the enforcement order for 18 Fordham Way?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, roll call vote. All in favor, say aye. Mary,
Yes,
TJ,
aye.
Woody,
Yes,
Brad,
Aye.
Mick,
All right,
Diane,
yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. All right, now first public hearing. This would be DEP file number 0501409, 18 Fordham Way, for after the fact approval of work to replace 2 sets of beach access stairs. Sam, can you provide a quick overview? And I'm assuming Tom Hughes is going to be
Yes.
presenting. Okay.
Yep, so like we said, this one got an enforcement order, the stairs, they replaced the first set. It was unpermitted. It is something that does appear to have been getting done prior to this. This was just the first time that it seems like it was just a case of it got done a little bit later this year, maybe than it had
Right.
been. We got notified by Mass Audubon that it was being done. Did the enforcement order or did the emergency certificate that got revoked, resulting in the enforcement order. Now we're here with this one. It was just for the replacement in kind of 2 sets of stairs and a walkway. Pretty straightforward stuff. We did get a response back from Natural Heritage, which was a pretty straightforward response. It is in priority habitat, so they did have some information that went out with the species that were in the area, but it was a pretty straightforward response altogether. We got the DEP comments, and I'm gonna kind of let Tom touch on that a little bit more
Okay.
during his presentation, but this is a fairly straightforward notice of intent, so.
Okay. All right, why don't we have Tom? Tom?
Okay.
Tom, good evening. Why don't you give us your presentation on this?
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. Tom Hughes with Hughes Environmental Consulting. I'm here with Ryan Guthrie from Plum Island Blue. First of all, I do want to note one thing. While it is after the fact, as the commission is aware, the second set of stairs was actually constructed while the emergency cert was valid, but the way the law works, once it's invalidated, everything done under it is no longer valid. So it was kind of like legal for 24 hours. And then we're in this now after the fact status on it. So I'm going to share my screen if that's okay with the commission. What I'd like to do is, since we're obviously going to have to continue this so we can try to address DEP's comments, is try to keep it brief, get any feedback from the commission, get any feedback from any abutters, and then continue this out so we can try to work to address these comments. So sharing my screen. Okay, so this is the Blue Inn. You can actually see the stairs here and here that were the subject of this, that were replaced. We're talking about down near the southern end of the occupied portion of the island. We're in the VE 16. We are within habitat right up to the inn's edge, as noted. This is actually a picture from April, right after this was done. I believe this is, oh, I'm sorry, this is 2017. This is before it was done. These are the old stairs. So you can see the old stairs where they existed. And these are the replacement stairs that were constructed. We've given you a survey plan showing the existing as done. We do have grades on the decking and grades on the surface immediately adjacent that are shown on there. And now for the DEP comments, basically they want elevation view showing the profile of the dune, locations, support posts, elevation of the woodwalk above the dune to show the dune could move, etc. Now, one of the things that, in order to go through this, one of the things I want to point out is underneath these stairs here, there's a revetment, and the sand is kind of a veneer on top of the revetment. These are open riser stairways. I think that to the extent the sand needs to move with a revetment under it, I think these stairs are really a minimal impediment, and I don't know that 2 feet above does an awful lot of good. I think we're going to have to discuss that with DEP. This at-grade walkway is a seasonal walkway that gets removed, and the prior condition had that. These are essentially the same as the prior stairs that were there. And in terms of looking at an adverse effect from replacing the dune function kind of remains the same. And I would also kind of argue that these, given their small dimension, they really aren't the impediment to dune movement the way perhaps a bigger structure like a house would be. So I want to have some further discussion with DEP about their comments and try to see if we can sort things out. We can provide the information that they've asked for. But I do think that these would meet the performance standards because you have to compare them to the conditions beforehand, but also look at how the dune functions with an area that is stone under it. And the other part of the project that was done that apparently the inn did, you know, year in, year out was they, you know, there's a veneer placed over the rocks to just kind of hide them from view. One of the things we need to keep in mind for the inn's guests is while it's not an ADA issue, they do have a lot of older guests for whom, you know, going upstairs and downstairs and over a longer trek of stairs would be more difficult. If we were to try to get a full 2-foot clear here, then we have to have stairs up, right? So now the stairs here would be closer to the grade. Then we'd be coming down and then we'd be coming downstairs and essentially we'd be landing much further out onto the beach. So you end up with a bigger structure. I think it may be counterproductive to try to provide that clearance that DEP traditionally looks for 2 feet. And I think from a practical standpoint, the dune functions just fine with these in place and they're identical to what's been there. In fact, we have an aerial that shows there used to be 3 stairways here. And they, you know, have since gone down to 2. So with that, knowing that we've got to continue, I guess what I'd like to do is get any feedback from the commission and abutters and then continue this to your next meeting. I likely would continue it again, but I'd like to start with just going out 1 meeting on it, you know, while we try to address the DEP comments.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Tom, as I recall, these structures are in the same place and they have been existing for decades.
Right.
And it seems that because of the sand movement this time, as I recall, when we were doing the enforcement order, it required more extraordinary repairs than just normal repairs. So, I mean, I kind of view that as existing non-conforming structures that have existed, which may not be allowed by right to, well, they're not allowed by right today, but you get to maintain them by right.
Right. Well, the other thing to remember is the 2-foot rule, you know, it's not really a rule, is sort of a standard that has evolved over time where there's just general agreement that sand moves within that 2 feet. Anybody who sat down on the beach on a windy day and eaten a sandwich kind of knows that if you're lying down, you're getting sand on your sandwich. If you sit up high enough, you can maybe be a little, you know, free of sand because the sand movement does tend to kind of hug the dune surface a bit. But you also do have to look case by case at really how does this affect the dune? And I think when you compare the pre and post, I really don't think that dune function is compromised by these structures. And that's a discussion I think we have to have on this. And I'd like to, you know, explore this further, working with Sam and working with DEP to see, you know, whether we can make that case in an acceptable way to DEP. But you're right.
Why don't I open this up to the members, Tom, because you're just looking for the feedback at this point.
Right.
You're requesting a continuation anyway. Mary, any comments for Tom at this point?
No, I actually agreed with what Tom has said, and I don't think the structures are an impediment to dune migration, but I do think that it would be important as part of this filing to include a dune management plan, because from what I understood from previous discussions on this project, that it's frequent that the stairs have to be dug out each year following winter, or maybe it's summer, I don't know, at certain times of year, that stairs become buried and they have to occasionally be dug out, and also that there's scraping up the beach to replace the, you know, the veneer on the on the stone riprap occasionally too. So I think that we should include those activities as part of our decision so that they have permission to do that work in the future.
Okay, no, I think so. So Tom, I think adding a beach management plan, for ongoing maintenance. As Mary said, it's either digging sand out so you can utilize the stairs or replacing the lower stairs because we've had extraordinary storms, so.
Right. Yeah, I've talked to that with Ryan, but I also talked with Sam about it. In terms of whether it's part of this or a future filing, I'd like to make sure that DEP, this doesn't complicate things with DEP on this filing. But I think that it's in everybody's interest that through an NOI, we have a beach management plan that's kind of perpetual and sets the ground rules for how things happen out here. Because I think as an inn, they have maybe more of a need to manage the resource than other folks. And it's not uncommon for folks like DCR who manage big stretches of beach to have something like that. So we can put something together, and we
would
don't
like to
object
see
to
it
it.
as part of this approval though.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I think.
because this is when you're doing the work, and the reason that you're doing the work in order to maintain these stairs. You
Right.
need to do additional work, so that should be disclosed as part of the overall project impacts.
Okay, I don't disagree. I would like to explore if DEP strenuously objects, then I'd like to discuss another avenue for moving forward on that.
Okay, Mary, anything else?
No, that's it. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Mary. TJ, any questions for Tom?
No questions. I do agree that the structure, making the structure larger is counterproductive to what we're trying to accomplish. I do tend to agree with Mary about having the process in place with this one going forward, but we'll wait till DEP makes their comments and you handle it with them first.
Okay, thank you, TJ. Woody, any comments on this?
I agree with what's been said by everyone, and we'll wait and see what DEP has to say, and otherwise, no other comments.
Okay, thank you, Woody. Brad, any comments on this one?
All good, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Mick, any comments on this one?
Just a question, I think out to the whole group, including the commission. Do we have any like historic projects that have been similar where they've shown a negative impact? Whether these like may function as groins in the future or something like that. As far as I see, I'm just kind of asking that general question if we have anything similar in history.
Mick, I've been on the island since 1979, and there's stairs up and down the beach. And,
Right.
And I almost want to say they're more temporary structures because Mother Nature has a little more say over the permanence of these things. But for sand, we would love to have extra sand accumulation on Plum Island. Unfortunately, it seems to be more
Sure.
erosion. But okay, anything else, Mick?
No, I just wanted to make sure that we didn't have any other similar projects that didn't go as planned.
No, good question.
No.
Diana, any comments on this one?
Nope, I'll look at DEP comments tomorrow.
Okay, and I don't have any comments on this one. Sam, do you have any follow-up comments before we entertain a motion to continue this?
I do not, but don't forget to look for public comments as well.
Yep. Okay, so do you have any raised hands, Sam?
We do. Steve Mangin.
Okay. Oh, Steve,
Hi, Mr. Chair.
good
First,
evening, my friend.
forgive me, I'm late to the party on this call because I got another phone call. So I may have a question about something you've already covered and I can discuss with Sam. But part of what I'm scratching my head over is that I've lived here long enough too to remember when there were not any stairs to the beach in front of this building. So I'm wondering whether there is evidence of prior notices that were filed and approved, or whether this in some ways is a new proposal which puts it in a different light than the approved plan. I know that way back when Doug Packer was the conservation agent, numerous times he went down to this area because there was construction equipment on the beach, moving sand, and I believe he made them stop equipment, but again, I don't know what the disposition was in terms of a formal statement, writing, whatever, from the Concom and the conservation agent. But to my way of thinking, these haven't been here since the beginning, and I'm wondering if you really want to allow people to be doing this on the primary dune. So let me back up once more and say, has it been represented to the commission that this is replacing existing structures that have been here since, shall we say, 1960, and therefore are grandfathered in? Or when did they get put in? Or, so let me ask that question. When was stairs originally area? Because I don't remember seeing them in the old days. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Tom, do you have a,
I don't have a firm date, as I think the commission is aware. This is a new owner of the inn, and we don't have all the old history of the site. I know that Mr. Packer, who was agent for many years as well as chairman, was intimately aware of everything that went on in this area of the island. And had there been an issue with their legality, he would not have been shy about having that corrected. I looked back and saw evidence of them just in the pictometry photos on my map, which go back to 14. I didn't really spend a great deal of time doing any more than just showing that there was a pre-existing structure there at the time the work was done. And that was the baseline that I went with. The commission may have approved these through an RDA, in which case that's really difficult to track because it's not on file at the registry. The commission's records for certain time periods are not there because of an issue with water that got into a storage trailer. So I'm not sure I can recreate the history of these stairs, but I think for the purpose of what we're here for, the activity that occurred that was subject to the enforcement, subject to the DEP issue, was the replacement of the stairs as they existed before the work was done, kind of in that immediate sense. And certainly they've been there for quite some time. Certainly we're not arguing these have been here since 1950 or 1960, but I also haven't looked at aerials to determine that they haven't been there that long. But I would take Mr. Mangan at his word. I mean, I guess what we're looking at is, a little bit of a regulatory kerfuffle where these were sort of allowed by the commission and then the allowance withdrawn by DEP. And we've had to, in a fairly short time period, as far as putting together an NOI, get in the door with a notice of intent. So we've done that. But I think the big thing here, I think, is it's important for us to go forward and address the DEP comments and come up with a beach management plan that provides assurance to the commission and others that we're going to not get in the way of the dune functioning, and that we're going to manage the resource in a sensitive way. I think the other thing to remember is, while yes, primary dune, but the primary dune in this area is armored, and in order for guests to safely get down to the beach, they do need stairs. I can tell you that when I was chairman of the commission in Salisbury in 2007, when the southern end of the beach got torn apart, DCR and DEP actually agreed to a streamlined procedure for walkovers to get down on the beach, because you actually eliminate the damage that occurs to dunes from these deer trail-like paths that form through a dune. You actually protect the dune more by providing focused, sensitive access.
Tom, let me do this. You heard the question.
Yep.
We're going to request a continuance. Sam, I see your hand up. Do you have something you want to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to note, I did just go back in Google Earth to see if I could see when they were actually put in. My understanding was that I believe they've been here since before we had a bylaw, at least. That was my understanding, I believe, from just talking to Ryan Guthrie about them.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back and see if I could see how long they'd been there. Unfortunately, Google Earth imagery is garbage past like, anything before like 2007. It's very hard to see anything. It is way too hard
GIS
to
shows-
see.
Mass GIS shows them to 2008, 2009 imagery.
Okay,
All right, well, you know what? I think I think it was a good question. Tom, you have it.
Yeah,
Uh,
and we will try to address that. And I guess if it's, I see Mr. Mangin's hand is still up, and if it's okay with him, just because I do have to get to a hearing another community. If he could email any further questions, I will try to get answers addressed before we come back to the commission to his questions to the extent I can. And then if I haven't adequately done so, if it's okay with him, we could, he can further grill me on them at the next hearing.
Steve, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'll send some messages to Sam. I'm gonna be a little bit tied up with medical issues too, but we'll make
Okay.
it happen well in advance of the next meeting. And I don't intend to grill Tom, but I do intend just to put the questions out there since I know what my memory tells me. And I'll also leave you with a thought about Moby maps, but again, you may have already discussed this, and now I'll be quiet, Mr. Chair.
All right, Steve, thank you. Sam, any other raised hands from the public?
I do not see any.
Okay.
So with
All
that, Mr. Chair, I would request a continuance to the meeting on the 15th.
right, okay.
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second,
Second.
Okay, all in favor of continuing this public hearing till August 15th? Say aye. Mary,
Yes.
TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
Aye.
Brad,
Aye.
Mick,
Aye.
Diane,
yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. All right, next matter. Did we ever get a DEP number on 11 Plum Bush Downs, Sam?
We have not. I reached out to DEP today to see if they had one. The data portal was down this morning, so I reached out to see if the circuit rider could see it on her end. And unfortunately, Tom got the green card back from the certified mailing, saying that it was delivered on July 24th, which was a week ago yesterday. And when the circuit rider responded to me today, she said it's not in Jim Freely's queue and it wasn't received in the mail today. So
Okay,
we're trying to
All right.
figure out what happened with that, but
okay, well, Tom, our policy has been if you don't have a number, we're not going to entertain any questions.
Right, I understand your policy. I'm just gonna give you my 1 minute bit on it. The applicant's timely filed, we sent it to DEP, they've had it for 8 days. And they haven't been able to get it from the front desk to the guy who enters its information. And I think we're entitled to a hearing within 21 days, and a hearing is not just a listening, a hearing is a back and forth. I would ask
Tom, why don't
respectfully,
you do this? You make your presentation and then I'll
Right.
run the rest of the meeting, please.
right, understood. I just would ask respectfully that if any commissioners have any obvious questions or obvious things they would like to put out, it is helpful to the applicant to know those before we come back in 2 weeks. So, and we would understand if if DEP comments and you have additional concerns or questions or want to change your position, that
Tom,
would.
please make your
fine, but-
presentation. We have a
Sure.
very full agenda tonight.
Yep, understood. So I do want to make a quick presentation of this here from any abutters and any commission comments, and then we'll move on and continue this. So this is 11 Plum Bush Downs, part of the Plum Bush community, and basically what we're looking to do is an addition with a cantilever deck, and it's really pretty minimal. So the location, you guys know where Plum Bush Downs is, right in this area here. This is the building. You can see it's got an existing deck. We're within the AE zone, but we are within the limit of moderate wave action. So we're within the AE 13. So here are some pictures. There's a view from the north. There's salt marsh. The salt marsh runs along an obvious edge of kind of edge of fill slope that runs along the back of the property. It's a picture from the back near the wetland line at the deck area where the project will go. View from the south, view along the wetland boundary, and view of the backyard on the upland side of the wetland boundary. So you can see in this profile, we have kind of the existing and proposed conditions. You can see we have a cantilevered deck addition proposed right in this area. It's really pretty straightforward. And then on the site plan, we show that basically the existing foundation supports, which are, I believe, sonotubes, they're called piers on the plan, but they basically are adequate, except two of them need to be replaced right in this area. These two remain, this one remains, and that one remains. And as I said, the deck is cantilevered out. And then we have this one remains and this one remains. We have a limit of work shown along here, represented by erosion control. And access to that construction area would be along the lawn area along this side, would repair any lawn damage. It's a really pretty straightforward project. That arrow doesn't mean a lot. Anyway, so with that, I mean, it's a really straightforward project. We're within land subject to coastal storm flowage, within buffer zone to the salt marsh. And I think you're aware, I think Plumbush Downs is all within the ACEC, but we don't affect any of the ACEC functions that are protected and why it was named, because we're within an already developed and landscaped lot. And the project really has a very light footprint compared to the existing home.
Okay,
So with
any
that,
more
I would put it out for any questions from the commission or abutters, and then look to continue.
Okay, Tom, as this does not have a file number and we do not have DEP comments, the commission's policy is we won't entertain questions from the commission till we have a complete package before us. Sam, are there any raised hands in the from the public?
Not that I can see.
Okay. So Tom, when would you like to continue this to?
To the next hearing, we expect to have a file number, and I think this is a simple enough project. We would
Yeah, no
Hopefully-
question. So you're asking for an extension, requesting extension to August 15th?
Yep.
Okay. Do we have a motion to extend 11 Plumbush Downs notice of intent till August 15th? Continue the public hearing.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
okay, all those in favor, say aye. Mary,
Yes,
TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
Aye.
Brad,
Aye.
Mick,
Aye.
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. Thank you, Tom.
Yep. Thank you. Have a good night.
Next matter, public hearing, DEP file number 050-1406, 110 Hayes Street. For work to conduct site improvements, including driveway expansion, addition of an existing structure, landscape work, septic system replacement, and invasive species management. Sam, as I recall, we went through all of this with great detail at the previous meeting. And the one remaining question I think we had was Board of Health had not signed off on the septic plan.
Right, so we had two different ones. There was the snow storage and this, the septic approval. The John Moran from Moran Cameron, who did the site plans, did email me earlier today and said that he spoke with Deb Rogers, the health director, and she approved of it. At the time, we didn't have a letter from her, but she actually emailed me about half an hour ago and said that it has been approved and it's all set to go. So we have the sign off on that front. And we also got, and this actually didn't come through until after I left yesterday. After I left Newbury yesterday and went to Merrimack, so I didn't see it until this morning. But we did get a revised site plan from John as well that has the snow removal shown on it. It was, since it's, I I know typically we look for any plan revisions to come through at least by the Thursday prior to meetings, but since this was such a minor change and it was something that had already been discussed and it was now just being shown on the plan, I think it is more than reasonable to not feel like we need to continue it just because of that.
No, I agree.
So,
Mary, you weren't present for this. We had I want to say we spent probably better part of an hour on this one, maybe even a little bit longer. And was it Mike DeRosa that was doing the presentation on this?
yeah, and he's not here tonight. John's the only one representing this, but that was mostly because pretty much all the questions that were presented were for John.
So Mary. what
Yeah, I did
questions
not
did-
listen to the previous discussion,
Yeah.
and so I'm out of the loop, and so
Okay.
for that reason, I'll abstain from comment. And also, this is a former client, and I did work on this property before,
Okay.
so for those two reasons, I will abstain.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mary. All right, so team, do we have any follow-up questions? I mean, that is my recollection, as everyone recalls, which we basically had those two open items, and they both seem to be addressed. So why don't I go on, TJ, do you have any additional questions on this matter?
No, I actually was not here at that meeting either, so I'm going to abstain.
Okay, Woody, how about yourself?
No questions. Thank you, Bob.
Okay, thank you, Woody. Brad, how about yourself? Any questions for John on this one?
All good, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, Mick, any questions? Any additional questions on this one?
No, sir, no questions from me.
Okay, Diane, any questions on this one?
No.
Okay, and I have no questions. Sam, any follow-up questions on your part?
The only question that I had, so we had discussed a couple of conditions. One of them was for the snow storage,
Right.
which is now shown on the plan, so I don't think it's necessary to put snow storage in the conditions. The other one that I have in my notes from the last meeting, actually, sorry, there's two. So one for survivability of the plantings that are going in. And typically we look for 75% survivability within 2 years. And then anything after 2 years is pretty much, if it's survived that long, it's probably going to be okay for the long term. And the other one we had was I think it was actually a request for a perpetual condition to allow for continued management and maintenance of invasive species after the expiration of the order of conditions. Because obviously, with invasive species, it can tend to be many years worth of process to deal with that. And we do have,
There was a management plan.
yeah,
that
there's a
was-
long-term operations and management plan that was submitted with the notice of intent that I don't think I actually added a condition for that into the draft conditions, but I can add that right now and just reference that it's in there. And I believe that was for 5 years, I want to say. That was what the time frame that they had in that.
So Sam, these are what you're gonna add as special conditions in addition to our general conditions?
Yep, so the standard conditions that we have, and then I was gonna add the condition for 75% survivability after 2 years, or after 2 growing seasons is typically what we look for. And then the perpetual condition to allow for the adoption of that operations and maintenance plan for the invasive species.
Okay, do you want an annual report on that? I know we've done that in the past where they provide you on the maintenance plan.
Yeah, I don't think it would be a bad idea if I don't remember if it was already in there or not, but we can definitely add that in there. It's
Okay,
not terrible.
yeah, no, I think it might be helpful. Okay, are there any raised hands from the public?
I do not see any.
All right, team, any follow-up questions? Okay, do any members have requests for additional information or plan amendment or adding additional content to this notice of intent?
No.
Okay, I see no affirmative interest in that. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, all those in favor, say aye. So Mary and TJ are not voting on this. Woody,
Aye.
Brad,
Aye.
Mick,
Aye.
Diane,
yes.
and Bob Connors. Okay. Sam, now on your regular conditions or special conditions, you've identified those 3 items. Anything else? Do you have those? You want to just put those up for quick review?
I have the draft. I don't have those written into it yet.
Okay. Okay. All right, team. So I think Sam has identified three matters she wants to include in the special conditions. Have you gone over these with John or the applicant, Sam, to see if there's any conflict?
I know we had gone over them during the last meeting.
Okay.
But I can, so what I can do is, since we have the general idea of the conditions, it's really just the verbiage that needs to be kind of hashed out. So if you guys are comfortable with that, I can write that into the draft tonight. And then I can circulate that to you guys first. Make sure that everybody's okay with the verbiage that's in there, and then send it out to John and Mike and make sure that they're good with it as well.
Okay, John's on the call, isn't he?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. John, any comments? Have you had a chance to talk to Sam or review our usual conditions, or these few special conditions that we're just going to include?
I wasn't able to talk to Sam. For the record, John Moran from the Moran Cameron Group.
No,
I
thank
wasn't
you,
able
John.
to talk to Sam about these special conditions, but what she's saying is, that's what I recollect from the last hearing as well.
Right. Mhm.
And I don't see any problems with them, but I do like the idea that if Sam can send Mike and I, after the commission reviews the special conditions, Mike and I, the special conditions, the draft, just so we can see them. But based on what we're saying tonight, I don't see any issues with them.
Okay. So we've closed the public hearing, John. We could take 21 days to issue the order of conditions, give you a chance to go back and forth. That would get us to the next meeting. Or what would be your pleasure at this point?
Based on what Sam had explained for the conditions, I'm fine with the commission just voting on the order.
Okay. Okay. Sam, why don't you just go over the specific wording of the conditions again, just so we have that in the record, that you want to add a special condition?
Give me 1 second. It's a good thing I keep these in here from the last meeting.
I'm just happy, Sam, you don't have a fire alarm ringing over your head like
Me
last
too. That
meeting.
makes everything significantly less stressful for me while I'm sitting here. So the condition for survivability would essentially just say that all mitigation plantings, or the approved mitigation plantings, should result or should have at a minimum 75% survivability after 2 full growing seasons, which is something that we would check in on prior to the issuance of a certificate of compliance. And that's language that would be added into that condition as well. That the certificate of compliance wouldn't be able to get issued, a complete certificate won't be issued until after those 2 years have passed, and provided that you reach that 75% survivability at a minimum. And then the perpetual condition for the operations and management plan would be to adopt the operations and management plan for invasive species, and that it would survive the issuance of a certificate of compliance for the duration that the O&M plan is approved for, which again, I believe is 5 years. And that is in, so I would just reference that in the order of conditions, and that is in Appendix B of the NOI.
So you'll
Um,
just reference Appendix B on,
Yeah,
in that condition, okay?
yep. And then the last condition for the annual report would be to require an annual report from, and usually we just say from a qualified, wetland scientist or, approved person, or someone with similar qualifications, to provide an annual report on the status of the invasive species management and plantings.
Okay, now that would only be beyond the issuance of a certificate of compliance.
For the annual reports, I think we could, actually, we could write into the language for that from the time that planting starts, because I can imagine that while they're doing construction and stuff, they're probably not going to be doing a whole lot of
Right,
plantings,
right.
just to be safe. So from the times that the plantings and the invasive species management starts, that would be the start of, when we would start requiring the annual reports, which we typically ask to have them submitted no later than December 31st for review.
Okay. All right, let me just circle back with everyone. Is everyone comfortable with the approach? John, you're okay with the wording on those?
Yes,
John
those are
Moore.
fine.
Okay. Woody, any follow-up question before we consider a motion to issue?
No, none at all. Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Brad, any comments?
All
Question?
all good. Thank you.
Mick, how about yourself? Any comments or questions?
Sure, all good, all set.
Thank you, Mick. Diane, any follow-up questions?
No.
Okay, and I have none. All right, I'll entertain a motion to issue an order of conditions for 110 Hay Street with the usual conditions and those 3 added special conditions that Sam just identified.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, roll call vote. All those in favor say aye. Mary has abstained. TJ, are you abstaining on this one? Because you weren't at,
Yes.
okay. Woody,
Yes.
Brad,
Yay.
Mick? Mick, you're,
Oh, I was muted. I'm, yes, good.
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors. Okay, Sam, you don't need anything else from us, and you'll work out that final verbiage with John.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you very much.
Okay, good night, thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
So next matter is a public hearing, DEP file number 0501407, 74 Southern Boulevard, for work to construct a new deck. Sam, can you give us an overview and a recommendation on this one?
Yes, so this is sorry, trying to get the file opened up over here. So this is for construction of a new deck. The area that the deck is going into, it's not very well vegetated. It's pretty sparse. The area that it's going into right now, there is not currently a deck there, but the property is actually in Zone X again, believe it or not, one of the kind of few funky spots where it's not in the floodplain. So it is basically the whole site has pretty sparse vegetation, like I said. The area where the deck is going in doesn't really have a lot. It's going to have wood pile piers, 19 of them going in, which I believe are shown on the plan that I want to say Tim Meehan did, I think. Yes. And those pile locations are shown on the plan. It's going to go around kind of 2 sections of the house, or 3 sections of the house rather. And it's going to have a couple stairways going down to grade. And we do have a deck schematic as well. And now I realize that I'm not sharing my screen and you guys can't see what I'm looking at. Is that coming up?
Yes.
Yes, we can see it. I can see it.
Great. So the Schematic does show having the sonotube footings, which typically are not permitted. We typically look for something like diamond piers or helical piles. With something like a deck, a helical pile is a little bit impractical, a little too small and unstable for something that large. Or driven wood piles. All of those seem to be acceptable. And I believe when I had been discussing this with the applicant, who I don't know if either of them are here. I had been discussing this with Steve, the property owner. But I did note that typically we don't allow the sonotube, the poured concrete piles. And that chances are he would end up getting a condition that said that it had to be diamond piers or, you know, something else similar like that. And I think it would be, I believe I still have language from when we did the RDA for 49 Northern, that basically said something along the lines of a diamond pier footing, driven wood pile, or, you know, whatever. We had like a list of different types of footings that were acceptable to us, and then left it up to the decision of the building commissioner as to what he would prefer to see as far as what would be more stable for that particular structure. The decks are going to be elevated, not going to create any impediments for water and sand movement. We did get DEP comments on this as well, I believe shortly after our last meeting or on the day of our last meeting. And their only comment was that any dune vegetation disturbed has to be replaced or restored in kind, which again is a typical condition that we have in the special conditions anyways. And I think that is pretty much it. So this is the site location and the site plans. We can blow that up a bit so we can actually see it. So this is the proposed deck. There's also a stone walkway that's going in over here. But pretty much everything that's been proposed is pretty
Okay.
So
So all the work is within a zone X.
Yep.
And did this have to go to zoning? Is there any outstanding on zoning?
It did not. I discussed this with the building commissioner a couple times. They did not trigger anything with zoning. I don't know what the exact calculation is, but when they did the calculations, it came in under that 20% lot coverage.
Okay.
So
it
they were
meets
all
the-
set on that front.
Okay. Okay.
And it is, and sorry, just to make a quick note. So this shows the two zone X areas, which are kind of funky. So this side of the property is in unshaded zone X, which means that it's outside of pretty much any sort of mapped floodplain. Other zone X, if you look on like the FEMA maps, or if you look on the FEMA flood hazard layer on Mass Mapper, it'll show up in orange. It's the 500-year floodplain, which is still considered zone X. I think that's like a 0.2% chance of flooding in any given year. But they are both considered zone X, so he's entirely out of the regulated floodplain.
Okay, why don't I open this up to questions? Mary, questions for Sam on this matter?
Yeah, Sam, I'm looking at aerial photos, but I do have photos of this site. I'm just trying to determine how much of this deck area is vegetated. It looks like the vegetation that they're indicating is primarily dune grass. Is that right?
Yes. I thought I did have pictures in here.
Let's see anything in the Dropbox.
Have the accessory.
Yeah,
plot.
it looks like it's, there is some vegetation under this area, but not.
Yeah.
But there are some bare areas.
Yeah.
So it would be, I think, recommended that maybe some additional plantings would be supplemental plantings in the bare areas to make up for what is likely to be lost underneath the deck.
Okay. So like get, you know, request some plantings kind of in this area.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Sam, what's the square footage of the deck being proposed? Do we have that?
Don't know if we do.
Are there dimensions on the arc engineering? Okay, so
Proposed coverage. So building decks and steps is currently at 1,129 square feet. Proposed is 1,639. And that's that, I mean, that's for everything, so,
So that's 510 square feet difference.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Mary, would 50% of that for replanting do 50%?
Yeah, so 250 square feet of
Yeah.
replanting area to be identified. Yeah, I think that's appropriate.
Okay. Okay, anything else, Mary?
Nope, that's all. Thanks.
Okay. TJ, any questions on this one?
Just on the walkway, it says stone walkway, what kind of stone?
I believe it was gonna be either pea stone or crushed stone.
Okay,
And we can add conditions in for that as well. And I apologize. I know the applicants had some technical difficulties in trying to deal with doing the application and everything. So I was hoping they'd be here, but
Yeah, no, I mean,
that's good. I'm
we
all
get a
right.
plan.
yeah, and they were also in just having discussions with them as well. I know they were very, very amenable to making sure that things got done the right way. So I think having a condition in there for you know, that the stone walkways would need to be like a pea stone or even actually, I think we typically look for like pea stone or crushed shell. I think gravel and crushed stone are a little iffy.
Yeah, I mean, I see it all over the place, but
Yeah.
okay. Woody, any questions? Mary, I see you have a hand up. I'll circle back with you if that's okay. Woody, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions, Bob.
Okay, Brad, any questions?
No, my only comment though is I don't think we've ever had problems with crushed stone.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Brad. Mick, any questions on this one?
No, I was just thinking along the same lines as Mary is 50% replacement.
Okay,
for-
thank
yeah.
you, Mick. Diane, any questions on this one?
Nothing additional, no.
Okay, Mary, follow-up question.
Just that there's a debris wood pile sort of noted in the vegetated area. Is that something that's proposed to be removed
I don't.
south of the building?
Yeah, I don't believe so. Yeah, I don't believe that was something that was
They
discussed.
didn't mention it, but that could be a planting area, so
Yeah,
you can use that for planting. Okay.
Okay, Sam, any raised hands from the public?
I do not see any.
Okay. Team, do any members have requests for additional information, a plan amendment, or adding additional content to the notice of intent? I think we've identified 250 square feet of planting. I think, and typically I think we've always let Sam and the applicant work out that final location as long as we get the square footage. I think Mary's suggestion that debris pile probably better removed and planted than left as a debris pile, but I think that's something better probably addressed by Sam with the applicant.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions before I entertain a motion to close the public hearing? Okay, hearing none. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, roll call vote, all in favor, say aye. Mary,
Aye.
Mary, TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
Yeah,
Brad,
I,
Mick,
Aye.
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. All right, so Sam, I guess for special conditions, we're going to add the planting of 250 square feet. The removal of the debris pile. There was anything else, team, we wanted to entertain?
The sonotube?
Mr. Chair, I would suggest that that is up to the applicant and the conservation agent to determine whether or not that debris pile needs to be removed, because if there is enough vegetated land adjacent to that proposed deck, then it's up to the applicant to be able to use that.
Well, debris on your property, Brad, I don't think would be a normal landscape
But-
feature on a barrier.
I agree, but it might be when it says debris and wood pile, they could be stacking their
Oh,
cord
firewood, okay.
So I don't
They
think it's
shouldn't be
incumbent,
doing that either. I'm sorry.
I don't think it's incumbent upon us to put that restriction in.
Okay. Mick, any comments, any special conditions we should be including?
Not from me at this time.
Okay. Woody, how about yourself?
Nope.
Mary, what's your thoughts on any additional special conditions beyond the planting?
No, I'm all set. I think if there is a debris pile that it is material that's inappropriate for a dune and it's impacting dune vegetation, then Sam can take action on that specifically, separately, if needed, as an
Okay.
enforcement.
All right. All right, I'll, hearing no further comments or.
Um,
Oh, I see
can
Mick has his hand up. I'll come right
I
back.
have
to
a
you,
question
Mick.
afterwards too.
Okay. Mick,
So thank you. Just wanted to, I don't know if we mentioned the crushed stone versus shell, if we were going to condition that on the land as in the materials that were going to be used.
Sam, what's your normal conditions say on that? Don't we usually allow crushed shells, stone, gravel?
Yeah,
any of
so
that?
typically and I know under the performance standards, it would typically be, we usually go with pea stone or crushed shell are kind of the two go-tos that we go for. The performance standards from DEP basically say any material that's compatible, which is why pea stone and crushed shell tend to be the two go-tos and two the most
Right.
common ones that we go for. But I can, put in the language that it would be pea stone, crushed shell, or other compatible material subject to review and approval by the NCC or its agent.
Okay. Diane, I see you have a question.
Yes, Sam, were you putting in the sonotube language?
That was gonna be my next question. You guys are so good at this.
Hey, we're getting good.
Yeah, so the other condition, and I can actually, I'll try to pull up the language that we had for 49 Northern, because I think that was some pretty good language that I put in there. So maybe I didn't put any language in there. Maybe it was actually, you know what? I lied. We didn't have any language on that one. It was because he had originally proposed diamond piers, but then had kind of gone back and forth on what he wanted to use. He said something, whatever. We gave him a list and then suggested to finalize that with the building commissioner. But I believe for this one, it was proposed, they had originally drawn the schematic to use sonotubes. But then when we were discussing it, I had noted to the applicant that, diamond piers or driven wood piles are acceptable and that sonotubes typically aren't. So I can add the condition that that the footing should be diamond piers or wood driven piles or other, if it's not going to be one of those, that it would have to be something that would have to be subject to the review and approval.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we've done is sonotubes are not acceptable to the commission. any alternative type of footing or piling that's approved by the building inspector is. I think that's how we did it with the
Yeah.
other one, which we described the diamond piers, helical or driven pile. I think
Yeah.
were the ones, but. Okay, anything else, Sam, on that?
Nope, I think those 4 are good. I don't think I have anything else.
Okay, team, any other questions on this one?
Nope.
Okay, all right, I'll entertain a motion to issue an order of conditions for 74 Southern Boulevard with the usual conditions and those added 4 items that Sam just identified.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
all those in favor, say aye. Mary,
Aye.
TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
Aye.
Brad,
Aye.
Mick,
Aye.
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. Okay, thank you. Next one. DEP file number 0501410 53 Green Street for work to raise and rebuild the existing 2-family residence and associated appurtenances with associated site work. Sam, can you provide a project overview and a recommendation on that and correct my pronunciation if necessary?
Yep, so this one is, again, it's a pretty straightforward one. Mary and I actually went out to the site today to go take a look at the wetland lines and everything. The wetland lines look pretty good. There's a couple of funky spots that I think we wanted to talk about. But overall, they looked pretty good. The septic system is, again, when you're looking at it, it looks like it's in a weird spot, from what we could tell of where the test pits were, and from the site plans, because of the well setbacks and everything, having the septic system out in front of the 2 new units is not a good place for it, because it would be way too close to the existing well. So it did have to kind of go back towards the backside of the property. It does go, I believe it stays outside of the 50-foot buffer zone. But it's really the only place that it can go based on the test pits that they did out there. But basically the overall idea of the project is that it's currently kind of a building that appears to be kind of in disrepair. The existing structure is going to be demolished and they're going to replace it with 2 new units. It's going to be a 2-family lot, 2-family structure. So, and I will let our representative.
Yeah, Sam, one question, any technical comments? I didn't see any when I looked yesterday.
Don't believe so. I did look.
There were not any today.
Yeah, and I don't see any today either.
Okay, who's going to be presenting for the applicant?
Yep, Thor Akerley, wetland scientist and registered sanitarian with Williams and Sparages. And here with me is Kevin Neville from the ownership group. I will share my screen here quickly just to orient the commission. Sam did a nice job summarizing the plan. Again, we have an existing 2-family, technically called a 2-family by the assessor's office, 2-family dwelling here highlighted in the light brown here with 2 decks off the rear of the home. The existing septic system is out back of the home as well. And the proposal, well, I guess, again, you can see here 2 units, both outside of the 100-foot buffer zone, but our unit B is partially within the 200-foot riverfront area. But as you can see, it's all within degraded portions of riverfront, with the exception of this sliver of driveway. Out back, we have 2 wetlands, the A and the B series. There is a section where they appeared to disconnect here. Greg Hawkmith from our office, or formerly from our office, actually delineated this wetland. I've been out there too. I looked at the soils a little bit, in the area, and agreed with his line for the most part. And beyond that, we have technically riverfront area, as I mentioned, a perennial stream, which has a very small watershed, but is shown as perennial on the most recent USGS map. So we have shown it as perennial. that river and wetland wrap around the back of this property next door, just to the south, behind the dwelling here on this property, behind their, dwelling and driveway. Sam, to address your comments and question about the septic system, we actually dug about 10 test pits on the property. We initially tried to site the septic system out front here, but we just encountered a lot of ledge. We really couldn't have done any other situation other than what we've shown here. I believe we did have 2 test pits here, which had 2 feet of soil. So it's possible we could have snuck something in there, but the area needed to support, I believe it was 8 bedrooms total. Just wasn't, it was too risky, given all the ledge surrounding even those test pits. And out back was the only spot we could find outside of the 50-foot buffer zone, which is highlighted in the lighter green here, where we could site the leaching field. But yeah, I mean, the project, I think, is generally a good redevelopment of the property. I think most of the neighbors should be happy. If you've been out there, you can see the property is in need of some care. And we believe we've shown a pretty reasonable solution to this, where everything is shifted away from the riverfront area and the wetlands. I believe we comply with the riverfront redevelopment regulations, and we're providing a pretty significant riverfront enhancement area. I know we're not going crazy with the species, but there's a lot of seeds out in the grass there, and a lot of things that will pop up, as you can see in these highlighted areas here. So we propose to plant them, but then again, these will naturalize and grow in over time. And as they're lawn now, they will obviously become more valuable to the wetlands and provide a little more value there. And again, just to highlight, I can walk through the riverfront redevelopment regulations if you like, but I believe we do comply, and there is a net reduction as well in the total degraded or impervious surfaces within the buffer zone and on the property as a whole as well. Happy to answer any questions. And again, Kevin is here too, if you have any questions about the building or anything like that.
Okay, thank you. Let's open the questions to the members. Mary, questions for the applicant?
Sure, yeah, so when Sam and I were out there today, we thought that, like she had mentioned, that bordering vegetated wetland delineation seemed to be very accurate, except that we felt that flags B1 and A1 connected, and it doesn't really affect your setbacks or anything, but I would like to see the plan revised to just show that. Also, I understand what you're saying about where the septic system is located, because there's a difference in soil from the back of the site to the front of the site. The riverfront area is identified on this plan, if you scroll up, as just being identified from the USGS map, which isn't very accurate. Those maps, to translate that to the ground, it's not a very accurate location. So, and it doesn't indicate how mean annual high water was identified either. There's no flags. I know this is off your property, but I think we need a little bit more information on the actual location of the river in order to make sure that your riverfront area boundary, extending from it are accurate, and that you are outside of the 100-foot riverfront area. So those were my main comments. Other than that, I think the third one was I would like to see some kind of demarcation of the limit of work, either fencing or boulders or something, just so that enhancement area is not encroached upon and mowed down in the future. So something to consider as well. Those are my 3 comments.
Okay, response to Mary's question.
Yeah, first one, the connecting the A1 and the B1, I would assume that's what Greg wanted to do, although it is weird that he started 2 series. Having been out there, I do agree with you too.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why he did 2 series. Maybe he flagged this and came back for that. I'm not sure exactly. Demarcation makes sense. And the riverfront area boundary, we did not show it just from the USGS map. We just mentioned that it's shown as perennial on the current USGS map. We used aerial photography to show that. And I don't know if you can see my the mass mapper, but the stream channel is pretty well defined here. It's narrow, as I mentioned. It's a pretty small watershed area, but it is pretty well defined right off the back of the property here. And again, as I mentioned, wraps around the back of the neighbor here.
Okay,
But I agree with you. Typically, we would like to hang riverfront area flags and show a clearer demarcation. But it being off the property, we just didn't for this one. And we felt it was relatively clear that it was well defined by this channel here.
right. It's very marshy there, so it was possible that the mean annual high water extended beyond the banks there, and it's not clear whether you're picking up the center line or the closest bank to the property. It's only, it's not a huge difference, but I wasn't clear on that.
Yeah.
And does it go under? Is it piped portion of the way?
I believe it is
Southern part of
across,
it?
it should be across Green Street here.
Yep.
Wraps around and then I believe flows under Green Street.
Okay, any other questions, Mary?
No, thank you, Bob.
Okay. TJ, any questions?
No questions.
Okay, thank you, TJ. Woody, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you, Bob.
Okay. Brad, any questions for the applicant on this one?
Yeah, I didn't see on this plan, and maybe it's just because it's not blown up enough, erosion control barriers that you're gonna erect during construction.
We have them highlighted in brown here.
Okay,
I was zoomed out a little to get a full view, but they do envelop the whole site out to Green Street, and then of course, in the back there.
okay, good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Brad. Mick, any questions?
No, sir, none for me right now.
Okay, thank you. Diane, any questions?
No, I like the plan. I found it easy to understand. So I appreciated that.
Thank you.
Okay. I do not have any questions. Sam, any follow-up questions on your part?
Not for me.
I did want to mention too, the Board of Health has approved the septic design as well.
Okay, thank you. Now, Sam, any raised hands from the public at this time?
I do not see any.
Okay. Do any members have requests for additional information or plan amendment or adding additional content to the notice of intent?
Well,
I think
Okay.
that, well, if I could just add, I think that we can include, if we choose to close the hearing and issue an order of conditions, that I think my concerns can be accommodated with
Special conditions?
special conditions, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. What's our pleasure, team? I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
so moved.
Second,
Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Mary?
Yes,
TJ?
aye.
Woody?
Aye.
Brad?
Aye,
Mick?
Aye.
Diane?
Yes.
And Bob Connors votes yes. All right, so for special conditions, Mary, why don't we, Sam, what other special conditions were you thinking? Mary's brought up some good points here. Do you have any special conditions or any unusual conditions that you wanted us to consider?
I did not have any added. Give me 1 second to make sure that I'm right about that. I don't remember writing any in when I was drafting these. No, I don't have anything added. But if we can go over how we want to phrase those conditions for Mary's concerns, that would be helpful.
Okay. Mary, why don't let me circle back with you and just so we can be accurate on the special conditions.
sure.
You had mentioned, and we've asked for this in the past, we've had temporary fencing during the construction period to make sure there's no accidental oops, but the erosion control is probably going to do the same thing at this point. But to typically you've asked for like either a split rail fence or some other type of signage or some other boundary that just lets the current and future property owners know where the lawnmower stops and Mother Nature begins.
Mhm.
And what would you, I mean, I don't think we actually have a specific, we're looking for some sort of a boundary marker, whatever fits into the. just to-
Sure.
So
So
when
I
we,
think, yeah,
when we
we've done it
did,
before, yeah.
sorry, I'm trying to find that is the wrong one. The one that we did for Green Street, that language that was in there. So the language that we put in for Green Street, I think was one of the last ones that we did this for, was applicant shall install permanent markers delineating the approved limit of work / erosion control line to prevent additional encroachment towards wetlands. Applicant shall provide documentation indicating the detailed locations of these markers at or before the pre-construction meeting. And type and placement of markers shall be subject to final review and approval by the NCC or its agent.
Yep, markers or fencing, I think we can
Yeah.
add, you
Yeah.
know, or some other means of demarcation. That sounds fine to me. The other special condition I think we typically have when there's enhancement plantings or replication plantings is monitoring of the plantings for 2 years post installation with replacement if mortality exceeds, I think it's 20% until the certificate of compliance is issued. And that, you know, there be reports on the status of the enhancement plantings provided to the commission by December 31st for each growing season until a certificate of compliance is issued.
Okay.
And then as far as the wetland delineation goes, I would just say that we're in agreement with the wetland delineation with the exception that flag A1 and B1 are connected. So that's in case anyone ever wants to do work back there and try to, you know, try to use that as an access.
Okay, anything else, Mary?
Um,
So we get
I think that's it.
boundary monitoring. And I think what we've done is 22 growing seasons and a 75% survival rate, I think is what we did on.
75, yep.
Yep. And then the clarifying the flagging conflict. Okay, anything else, Mary?
That's all, thanks.
Thorson, are you okay with that? You have any comments on those special conditions?
No, I think that makes sense. I guess my only fear is that the enhancement areas are overrun by other things. You know, I think things will pop up pretty quick back there. I don't know if the blueberries will be able to keep up completely. You know, we'll watch it. But I guess I'm just potentially asking for some leeway if there is natural vegetation back or native vegetation back there. And we don't get a full 75% survival. You know, would the commission be okay with that? You know, obviously the intent is for the blueberries to survive, but I've seen stuff grow out there pretty quick in the time I've been there, and just knowing the area, it's wet, it's damp, things will pop up pretty quick.
Yep. I think as long as it's native, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
So do
All right,
we want to kind of revise that language so I have 2 years of monitoring after the plants are in, or after everything is planted, reports by December 31st every year, 75% survivability or
Certificate.
Or native vegetation.
or natural native restoration.
But that doesn't mean you can have 25% invasives, so it
Right.
should be.
Right, so
Non-
either
without
75%
invasives, yeah.
survivability or entirely native.
Mhm, yeah.
Natural encroachment.
Right.
Okay, Mary, anything else?
No, thank you.
Team, anything? Mick, anything you want to add? TJ?
Oh, I think I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. Diane?
No,
Brad?
Go good.
Okay, Mick, anything else?
I'm good, sir. Good.
Okay. I'm good. All right. So So I'll entertain a motion. Did we already do this?
We
we
closed the
actually-
public
You already
hearing.
closed.
We just
yeah,
closed the
closed it.
public hearing. Okay, now
Public,
we're
yeah.
voting on the, excuse me, I'm getting off track here.
Fading.
Yeah, you know, my day starts at 4:30 in the morning. It gets pretty
Yeah.
long. I'll entertain a motion to issue an order of conditions for 53 Green Street with the usual conditions and the 3 special conditions as identified by Mary.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Mary,
Yes,
TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
Yes,
Brad,
Aye.
Mick,
Aye.
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Okay, public hearing, DEP file number 0501411. 291, 293 High Road for work to replace the existing septic system with associated site work. Sam, can you give us an overview and a recommendation and a status of where we are with the Board of Health in this?
Yes. I admittedly, I don't know where we are with the Board of Health on this one. Somebody have a train going by?
That's
Um,
me. I apologize.
Okay. So, and hopefully Dan can give us an update on where we are with the septic for that. But this one is, it's a septic replacement. And the septic, I believe, serves both the house and the store that's there. This is for Newbury Kayak and Canoe on High Road. And they are also going to be doing a removal of a shed structure that's on the property, which I believe is in the way of where the new septic is going to go in. So it does have to be removed in order to accommodate that.
Okay, and you have a recommendation on this one, Sam?
I would recommend it, recommend an approval.
See, now, Sam, Sam, you're working in 2 towns, you're
It's-
doing yeoman's work. You have
And we've hit 8
applicants
o'clock
singing
and
your
I'm-
praises. That's pretty, yeah, 8 o'clock is becoming the bewitching hour.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, who's going to be speaking for the applicant, if you could just identify yourself.
Of course, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm Dan Ottenheimer, an engineer with Mill River Consulting in Gloucester, Massachusetts. And I'm here this evening representing Michael Duffield. He's the owner of Newbury Kayak and Canoe. And I assume the Commissioner is familiar with the facility as you're heading north on 1A. It's on your right just before you get over the Parker River. So would it be okay if I shared my screen and give you a
Certainly.
little explanation? And I promise I will not keep you here till 4:30 in the morning, Mr. Chairman.
We're expecting your best
So-
10 minutes or less, Dan. so.
It will be less. I think it's relatively straightforward. So this is 1A High Road. This is the kayak shop here. This is the property. As you can see, there's the existing store. There's also a residence on the property. There's also a storage building. There's parts of a garage. There's another storage building. There's also several roads and driveways. There's a lot happening here. What we are looking to do is, as your agent said, there is a septic system associated with the kayak store. And that is something we engineered about 10 years ago. And at the time, there was no room for a leach field. So we put in a holding tank. And there's also a septic system serving the dwelling, which the owner reports is very old and a little marginal, and he would like to bring it up to contemporary standards. So at the time when we were working on the kayak store, we really had no place to put a leach field. There's also a well located right over here. What's happened in the interim, as the agent indicated, there is an old wood-sided structure located right here that we are going to remove and build a full septic system for the house with a full leach field, partly where that's located, and also build a leach field for the kayak shop. So 2 leach fields are proposed to be constructed here. So that's essentially the scope of the work. In terms of resource area, obviously we have the Parker River over here. We have land subject to coastal storm flowage. We have riverfront. We have bank. We are outside of all resource areas and buffer zones except for riverfront. This is the 200-foot riverfront line, so much of our work is within the riverfront. And there is also the area of critical environmental concern, the ACEC, located on the site as well. So a little photograph might help orient you. So this is the Parker River on the left. This is the house that's currently served by a septic system that's located here. And this is the structure that we're looking to take down. So can you see that photograph? Is that showing up on your screens? Okay, great. So this is when the kayak store was a restaurant many years ago. This was a food storage area. It's not a durable building. It's going to come down very easily, and the septic systems are going to be located generally where this building is. And this is another perspective. Here's the building that's going to come down. This is the back of the kayak store. I'm standing with my back to the water, looking up the hill away from the water. So the construction work is going to happen where this building is located. So that's about it. We have erosion control proposed to prevent any siltation into the waterway, and that's what we've got.
Yeah, let me open it up to members for questions. Mary, any questions for Dan on this proposal?
I just have a question about the coastal bank and why it's where it is. With the flood zone being at 13, and it looks like you've got a pretty decent slope there. I would think the coastal bank would be higher than that.
Good observation. This was as it was depicted about 10 years ago when we came before the commission for installing this holding tank here for the kayak shop. And since then, as you know, the coastal manual has come out, and you quite possibly are correct that the Tapa Bank is coincident with maybe land subject to coastal storm flowage or somewhere here. This is definitely, yeah.
Yep. So yeah, it looks like you're close to, but probably not on the top of the bank based on the contour. It looks like there's a break in slope before you get to the
Yeah, and you can.
Yeah.
The picture helps a lot. So there's a tree line here, there's a decent slope going, and then it levels out, and then there's this artificial slope that was created for construction of the, I think, for the septic system for the cottage. So
Are you
you're right,
required
Tapa
under
Bank might
Title
be
V?
right over here.
Are there any requirements for setbacks to coastal bank under Title V?
It's listed as coastal wetlands. So generally, boards of health consider that to be banks as well, even though they're not often vegetated.
Do you have enough separation then, if that's where the bank actually is?
I don't know. We probably need, if we call this the bank, I'm gonna have to discuss that with the Board of Health. Because both these have been approved by the Board of Health. I didn't explain that earlier, sorry.
Right.
So I might need additional relief from them. So I'm not adverse to looking into that, but I don't think they're going to say no. These are repairs, and it's the only place we really can repair. Right.
Is it all gravel in that area that's indicated that most of that buffer zone? Is that sort of gravel storage area? Is that what I'm remembering, or is it marsh? It's not marsh there, I don't think.
I know no. Where are you referring to? I'm sorry, Mary.
Where it says map R11 lot 75 in that area?
Oh, okay, in that area. Yeah. No, that's not marsh. That's there's a actually a driveway that goes down here for a boat launch, and there's other things
It's filled.
happening down
It's,
here.
there's a,
Yeah.
an abutment or embankment or something. Okay, wood retaining wall. There it is. Okay.
Island wood retaining wall, yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right, well, I think, provided that the Board of Health is okay with the setback distance to Coastal Bank, I don't know that there's any other choices here or where you can put it.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you.
Mary. So Dan, has this plan been submitted to the Board of Health that we're looking at tonight and been approved by the Board of Health? Or was that pending?
Yes, it was, no, it's two separate plans, one for each structure, and they have been both approved by the Board of Health.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mary. TJ, any questions for Dan on this one? Okay, Woody, any questions for Dan on this one?
No, I have no questions. Thanks for the presentation, Dan, and thank you both.
Okay. Brad, any questions?
No, all good. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mick, any questions for Dan on this one?
So I understand it correctly. So the proposed leach field, the larger one, is basically going in on top of or where the existing leach field is that correct?
No.
Somewhat, there's a bit, it's a very small leach field that they have now, and it's located
Yeah.
right here. So part of it is going to be where the existing leach field is, correct?
Okay. And you have a holding tank, so you're going to decommission the holding tank to remove that? Existing.
We're gonna need no, because, good observation, but we're not gonna do that because we need to come out of this. We're gonna convert this into a septic tank and then put a
Okay.
pump tank, down gradient of it, and then pump it up to the leach field. Both of these are gonna be raised up above the ground surface, so we're gonna need pumps
Right.
to make it all work.
Okay,
That's all I had. Thank you, Dan.
Okay, thank you, Mick. Diane, any questions for Dan?
No,
Okay, I don't have any questions. Sam, any follow-up questions?
Not from me. The only question that I really have is if the coastal bank delineation is gonna have to change and that's gonna have to potentially go back in front of the Board of Health, do we want to close this out tonight? Or wait until that's finalized and the Board of Health can get their eyes on it again?
Yeah, I'm confused. If the Board of Health has already signed off on these plans, that was recently, Dan. These aren't plans that was 10 years old and submit. I can't see the stamp date on this.
Yeah, no, it was all
Yeah.
this spring and summer it was approved.
Okay. I'm not sure if it's already been approved by the Board of Health. What would you go back for, Dan?
If we might need a setback, I'm looking at the setbacks in Title V to a coastal bank. And if Mary is correct that I might have unintentionally not labeled the bank correctly on this site, then I might need to get further relief from the Board of Health. Again, I don't think they're going to say no, but that may be an issue that I have to address. So I guess the safe thing to do here is to thank you all for your time and understanding. I think it'd be best for me to put this on hold, figure out exactly if the bank is accurately depicted or not, and then come back to the commission one way or the other, and if need be, also go to the Board of Health.
Okay. So Dan, you're requesting a continuance of the public hearing?
Yes, please.
Okay, what date do you want it? You want to go to the 15th or?
Yes, please.
Okay, do we have a motion to well, Sam, any raised hands before we continue the public hearing?
I do not see any.
Okay. Do we have a motion to continue the public hearing until August 15th?
So moved.
second,
Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Mary,
Yes,
TJ,
Aye.
Woody,
Aye.
Brad,
I,
Mick,
All right,
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. Okay, thank you, Dan, and we'll see you on the 15th.
That's great. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time.
Okay.
You.
All right. Okay, team, it's 8:07. We've closed out all of our normal business under administration. Sam, can you give us your best 3 minutes on BVW?
The class was awesome. It was super helpful. I will willingly admit that soils were not my thing up until then. And Deborah Hansen did a really awesome presentation on that. I've done several sessions and classes on soil delineations and identifying soil horizons. And I feel like I always walk out of them with that glazed look that people give me when I start talking about wetlands permitting. And I just have never been able to pick up on it. And she did such an incredible job, and I feel a lot more confident with it now. It was an awesome, awesome class to go to. There was a lot of really good information coming out of it. And I will definitely say that when DEP starts doing these trainings, I believe they're hoping to start doing some of them this summer. They're going to be doing virtual and in-person trainings on the BVW delineation handbook. I would very, very highly recommend going to some of those trainings. At the very least, try to get to some of the virtual ones, and if possible, get out to some of the field sessions, because it is, I mean, it was a real game changer going to that and being able to go through that training. And I think if you guys get the opportunity to go, and I'll definitely keep you guys updated as I hear more about those. They're going to be open to commission members and staff, so I'll keep you updated as new information comes in about those, but it's definitely worthwhile to try to get out there for some of the field sessions if you're able to.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sam. And Sam, I just want to make mention that, was it Mr. Aganis from 53 Northern Boulevard?
Yes.
Well, you know what? It's nice that you're able to walk them through the process. And you know what? And I think the residents greatly appreciate your efforts on assisting them in that fashion.
I do my best.
Job well done. Well, let's go around the horn one more time, see if anyone has any last comments before we entertain a motion to adjourn. Mary, any closing thoughts that you'd like to add to this?
I would like to turn over my soil auger to Samantha now.
I have one of my own. Thank you.
One of you'll have to explain what that actually is to the rest of us, sadly, but thank you, Mary. TJ, any closing thoughts before we adjourn?
No questions.
Okay, Woody, how about yourself? Any closing comments?
No comments. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, everyone.
Brad, any closing comments?
yeah, Mr. Chair, not to sound like a broken record, but I would appreciate if we put a discussion about CSOs on the next meeting in light of the fact that we've closed the beaches out here on Plum Island twice in the past 2 weeks.
Okay, Sam, if you could put that back on our under administration.
Yep, those actually, I've been leaving that on there, just in case it does come up.
Yeah,
at
you know,
some point.
you're right, Sam. You're right. It is on there. So my bad for not mentioning.
But we
it.
can, I'll definitely make a note, to have, like I said, it stays on there, but we can make a note to have, an actual discussion about it at some point.
Yeah, I think
the next meeting.
more and more people are really becoming frustrated and the talk of having moratorium on tie-ins is becoming a little louder than it has in the past. Thank you, Brad. Mick, any comments before we adjourn?
just a second, Brad's comment, and that we prioritize that discussion, really do.
Must be helping the boat cleaning business with all the CSOs coming down the river that.
It is absolutely disgusting.
Oh,
It's
no,
just
no.
Absolutely disgusting.
It's a shame. Thank you, Mick. Diane, any closing comments?
No.
Okay, I have none. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Mary, TJ,
Aye.
Woody, Brad,
Aye.
Nick, Diane,
Aye.
Bob Connors, say
Aye.
aye. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night.
Nice.